The recipe said I could add a little bit of warm water to help it blend better. I think I added too much. This is a little bit soupy, but I also didn't leave it in the freezer that long, so. That's very good though. As long as it tastes good, that's the only part that matters. Too loud for myself, so I'm gonna put the headphones on. There, that's better. Now I can project. Hello everybody and hi, my name is Kieran. A little over 4 years ago now, I saw a video made by Dodie Clark. It was her at 25 responding to a video she made when she was 20, asking questions for her 25-year-old self. And I thought, well, ain't that a nifty little idea? So I made a video, set a video for 25-year-old Kieran. It's my 54th video on YouTube, just in general. It's like pure OG. I didn't have any of this fabricated gusto that you've become accustomed to. But wait, I hear you squee. Kieran's only 24. Not anymore, cause it's my birthday today, or in a couple of days at the time you're seeing this. I'm born on December 1st, which is a Sunday this year, which doesn't really fall in line with the scheduling. I'm about to be 25. Very, very soon as you're watching this. Which means two things. One, my frontal lobe is almost fully developed and I'll have no more excuses for my actions. And two, I'm liable to answer the questions that I asked myself and do another check-in. And then maybe in 5 years, I'll add another layer. So I looked up the video, I fired it up, and this is what I opened it to, which, come on, man. That's so rude. I showered and everything. I remember a couple of things from this video, but not most of it, and I've intentionally never looked at it again after posting it. So sit back, let's see what roughly 4.5 years does to a man. I can tell you right off the top, I'm not where I thought I would be. Let's begin. Actually, in the magic of editing, I'll make it all look snappy. Oh, I was apologizing. Your beard is whack and your hair is untrimmed. You've also lost your watch and are a general mess. I mean, that hasn't changed. My watch is, I know where it is, but the rest of that's the same. Wow, I was still waxing my mustache at this time? I didn't realize that riff was that old. Hold on, where's Jebediah? I haven't played banjo in so long. I want to do it more. I just don't have time for things like life and love. Alright, I'm already into this. Man, I thought I finished waxing my mustache long before this. Or maybe I just wanted to be gussied up for my recording. Which, that is, I picked out that shirt specifically to be gussied up. This is long before I ever considered the chops, which I think are really where I came together as a man. Speak, small man. Hello everybody, and hi. My name is Kieran. And this is a video for Kieran 5 years from now. I saw a video. Well, I'm gonna be old. And this is a really great time capsule too, because I'd only been doing YouTube for like 54 videos. This is like month 2 that I would have recorded this. So this is very much still, this is so 20-year-old me. I wanted the comedic timing, but I also didn't have the courage for all of it. And I don't think anybody in my family knew that I was doing YouTube at this time. Maybe my sister. There's a very good chance there were people in the house and I was just nervous about being caught. Not that talking to myself would be out of the norm for them to find me, but you know, I'm aware of it. I saw a video by Dodie when she did something similar. I only made it, I think, maybe a minute into the episode before I was super inspired to do it myself. So I don't know if this is at all formatted like hers. Maybe it's exactly like hers. Maybe I'm a copycat sellout ripoff. And that, I still am. I don't know what she did for her video, really. I just think that this is a cool idea, and I'd like to try it for myself. Pardon me while I sneeze. Didn't come. Okay. I wrote some jot notes down just so that I can stop myself from rambling on too much, because I am one to do that. So let's dive in, shall we? So, hi future Kieran. Hi past Kieran. I hope you're well. I'm good. Are you well? This is first question. Life is actually going pretty good for me at this time. I'm finally making enough money doing freelance editing that I'm not going to be paying this month's rent out of savings, but I'm actually going to be paying it off of income. Rent and everything, it's all just been out of my savings for the last 4 months-ish. But now I'm finally like breaking even. So at this moment, I'm actually doing pretty solid. This is me when you were 20. Mm-hmm. This is you when you were 20. I don't know what preface this is to use for this. Me neither. Here you are. You have a beard now. There's a lot of people who only know you with a beard. There's a lot of people who can't imagine you with a beard. You're in a weird and turbulent time in your life. You started... Man, I'm so funny and hot. Most people now can't imagine me with a full beard. If this is your first time seeing bearded Kieran, heaven help you. You started YouTube a few months ago. I think just 2 months ago by now. Your current subscriber count is 8. So obviously... Whoa! Brother, I got some great news for you. Because that was just people at the toy store that I worked at. That's all that those subscribers are. I would be amazed if any of them are still subscribed today. My current subscriber count is 56,981. So things have definitely gone up from then. So obviously, you're walking on air right now. The world is your oyster. You are the king. And no one can contest you. Recently, I want to say 4, maybe 5 months ago, maybe not even that long, maybe just 3. I hope you're better with time in the future. You quit your... I am not. I'm pretty sure it's day. That is as good, if not worse, compared to then. I'm degrading slowly. You quit your job, retail at Mastermind Toys, because you felt a call to leave it. Mm-hmm. And... it was a similar call to what you had felt back in high school, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. that you ignored then and have not gotten over yet. So determined to not make the same mistake, you left with no other job opportunities lined up and no real plan for the future. Though that quitting did inspire you to start your YouTube channel full force. So hey, maybe that paid off. I don't know yet. I'm a little baby you. So, there's a lot to unpack there. I'm a Christian boy. I like Christian things. When I was working in retail, I was so miserable. As anybody working retail will attest to, it's just the worst. And I still have stress dreams about it today. I worked there for like 1.5 years total, and just the whole time I was just praying to God, like, hey, can I leave now? Is this good? And every time I was like, no, silly, no, not yet, you leave, no. Until it finally came to a point where I felt that I was permitted to leave and try and find better prospects. And then me saying that's the same call that I felt in high school. The story to that is basically 2 months into high school, I felt like God was really calling me to drop out, that he had something else that was more important or something different for me personally lined up. And that call didn't leave me from 10th grade straight up to graduation. It never left me that it's like, just I'm not supposed to be here. This is not optimal. I am not optimizing my life right now. And so I stayed in high school the whole time and graduated. And that is, to this day, probably my biggest regret. Because what did I get out of it? Ultimately, I think what happened as a result of that is I've just delayed myself 3 years. I don't think anything I do, as long as I'm actually trying to follow God's plan and his wishes for my life, I don't think there's anything I can do that's actually going to disrupt it or like destroy it. I think I just made it harder on myself to get where he wants me to be. But to this day, that constant shame and regret for ignoring God, because I was scared. I was scared of my parents and, family. What are people gonna say about me? Mostly just my parents. I was terrified of what my parents were gonna say. If I could go back and change anything about my life, it would be that I would have dropped out of school as soon as I felt God calling me to that. There's not a day that goes by that I don't cringe and feel bad about that decision. So nowadays, when I hear God calling me to take a leap of faith, I say, how high? When God says take a leap of faith, I hop to it. No big deal, fans, and you know what I'm talking about. I'm much more eager and receptive because I can't let there be another regret in my life that I feel as intensely as the regret of not dropping out of high school. I don't want to be plagued by two things. One is enough. As soon as I felt God give me the okay to quit that job, which again I was reluctant to do because I was just terrified of what my parents would say, I didn't hesitate. I wrote up my resignation that same night. And also, little side note, real funny how history be repeating itself. I didn't even think of this. To quit my job with no prospects, and this time I did it with some kind of plan, but nothing guaranteed. Wow, actually, it's kind of insane how this has occurred. Working a job I hated, that I was praying for permission to leave from day one, and then I finally got permission, left as soon as physically possible, and then went home with no prospects or stable income. This time I had an apartment to worry about. That's fascinating. I've done it again. I done it again. It's more like a cold grape soup right now. And I'm into it, honestly. I love grapes. But yeah, there's your daily dose of Kieran lore. Sincerely Stud Muffin came out last month, your first EP. It's been met with very positive reviews from friends and a couple of strangers even, which is wild. Yeah, people. It's wild because it's trash. Nah, it's good musically, but it's poorly mixed on my part, which is something I'm carrying into my future musical projects. I learn something every time. That's the important bit. It was very important to me that I made that EP because it was a very therapeutic experience to help me deal with a breakup that had long past happened and that I had still had a lot of strong feelings about, and a lot of regret and guilt, along with sadness, but also the understanding that it's for the best. You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. That was the first girl that I was ever like super certain I was gonna marry. She dumped me because she wanted to explore and find herself, see who she is as a person, but she didn't want to be worried about what would Kieran think. And it is, I've gotten better at the process. Music, putting feelings into putting feeling into songs is kind of the last step on my process of emotional recovery. That's what I do when I've like settled everything. Like it's really hard for me to write while I'm still in the thick of it, and I was still kind of in the thick of it while writing that EP. I've gotten better at not using music to process the emotion, but like as the nail in the coffin where I can put it into music and then I'm done with it, ship it out, and now it's off my shoulders kind of thing. So it's hard for me to write music on stuff that I haven't already dealt with. And I was mostly dealt with it by this point, but I was still struggling. You know what I'm talking about. You don't know what I'm talking about, but we know what I'm talking about. I'll probably tell you eventually. I like when YouTubers are honest, very open with people, and that's what I want to be here. I want this to be a very safe place for people to come together and share their experiences without any judgment and just sort of love on each other, you know? This is what I would like for this to be. So yeah, you put out your first EP, your first big boy project. A lot of people don't do that. That is something I gotta give myself credit for. I'm really bad at giving myself props, but I did put music together, and I have even better music being put together, which you're gonna hear sometime in the future. I'm out of sorbet. It's very nice. Also, there's a pandemic happening and the world is on lockdown. You are currently in quarantine, which admittedly, if you lived alone, you probably wouldn't have noticed. I hope this hasn't happened again when you do move out, because you were oblivious, my friend. I'm sorry. Maybe you're not anymore, but I am. I am very much so. So with that, yeah, no, I still think that with how little I go outside, or how much little interest I have in going outside, if there was another pandemic that happened now and nobody told me, I would live life so normally. It wouldn't bother me in the slightest. At that point, I also thought that the pandemic was only gonna last like another month or two. Sweet summer child. I have procured a list of 14 questions that I'm going to ask myself now. Why so long? Why so long? It's been 30 minutes. I haven't even gotten to the... There's 26 more minutes of video that I'm going to ask myself now, and then ask myself again 5 years in the future, and see what's changed. I've picked these specifically because I either want them to change, they're very likely to change, Yeah. So let's get into some questions. Question 1, or I hope they stay the same, is what that blurb said, if you caught that. Question 1. Daily routine. So as of 20 years old, I wake up 8:30. I have breakfast from 9 to 10. From 10 to 12, I'm editing a video. Then I break for lunch at 12. And then at 1 is right now. I make YouTube videos from 1 to 2. Currently, I am practicing, I'm learning the viola. So 3 to 4 is my viola time. 4 o'clock, workout. 4:30, recover from the workout and the suffering you've endured. 5 o'clock, post an episode, or just post a video rather, of whatever is scheduled to come up in the day, as well as continue editing on my next video up until supper, which is usually about 6 o'clock. 5 o'clock is also my allotted time to shower. So I break for supper 6 to 7. 7 to 9 is my designated music time, just letting myself have creative freedom to practice and write and record different music and things like that. Fun fact, not 2 weeks later, this entire schedule changed completely because I wanted to see what all the hype was about waking up at 6 a.m. So I changed everything up. That's a pretty good, solid schedule. That's very, very nice. My schedule currently nowadays as a 25-year-old, I'm waking up at 7 begrudgingly. I don't eat breakfast. I'll come upstairs, I'll fire up the computer. On a good day, I'm editing by 7:30. On a bad day, I'm editing by 8. But generally, I'll edit one of my videos at that point in the morning. My editing has gotten more involved since my first 50 videos. Who would have thought? The length of the videos as well, just overall the complexities to a point where I could never just do a full video in 2 hours. Generally, it's about 8 to 12. Is my designated editing time, and if I finish editing early, then I can do like other YouTube stuff. And then at 12, I have my my lunch, which is usually just like a bag of trail mix or some such, just something quick and easy. I try to have it just be like a 15 to 30 minute break because I don't want to let myself break too long, or else it's harder for me to get back into it. And then it's right back into editing, either for a client or for myself. And I'll do that and have like maybe a little midday pick-me-up snack at like 3 or 4, supper at 5 or 6, and then after supper like 7 to 9-ish. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, that's my working out, and Tuesday, Thursday, that's my time to be artistic and autistic. And then 9 o'clock, I start getting ready for bed, and I'm in bed reading by 10, ideally asleep before 11. That changes up some days. Saturdays I do groceries, and Sundays church and family and all, but generally my working day is as I have described. Funny enough, I used to push myself solely on music before I started YouTube. I would push myself to do at least 12 to 14 hours a day of music, and along with burnout, there was a decrease in the quality of my work. And I find actually that, at least for right now, this 2 hours a day is the perfect blend of pleasure and enjoyment and creativity in a day with maximum output. So I'm accomplishing more by doing less time. And I think part of it is because there's less time, so I know I have to really hunker down for those 2 hours and really dig into my work and let the creativity flow from my body. Work smart, not hard. I do that until 9 to 10, I just chill, maybe have a bowl of cereal. And then 10 to 12, I will either do any leftover YouTube work. If there's no YouTube video stuff to do, then I just work on my writing. And then by 12, I go to get ready for bed. By 12:30 to 1, I'm usually in bed, ready to fall asleep, wake up at 8:30 the next day and start it over again. So that's my daily routine at 20 years old. I didn't realize I had more to say. Favorite band and why? My favorite band, if anybody knows 20-year-old Kieran, it is the Oh Hellos, undoubtedly. They are the finest band I've ever heard, greatest songwriters I've ever listened to. Just truly superb stuff. Why I like them so much? They have such a texture to their music, and there's such a feeling of adventure in a lot of their songs. A lot of people have said that they play Oh Hello's songs with Dungeons and Dragons sessions, which I think is very fitting because there's a lot of them that make you want to just pick up a sword and go adventuring, and those ones are fun. And there's a lot of them that are sort of a little more personal, introspective. There's a lot of introspection in their songs, and a lot of looking at your flaws, but with the understanding that it's going to be okay. I think that's one thing that I like a lot about the Oh Hello's music, is that there's always a positive end. It always gets better. And there's always something to look forward to in the end. And also, all their songs are just an explosion of ecstasy in my brain. So, like, how could you not? Soldier Poet King? Could you slap harder? You really can't. That's still an incredible song. Oh Hellos are definitely still way up there in terms of my musical taste. Let me pull up my iTunes library. There have been a few other artists that I've been getting into in the last 5 years, if you could believe it. TV Girl is way up there in terms of my favorite artists. I love TV Girl. Absolutely exceptional. Just every track is a bop. Jordana, I'm also a huge fan of. I've recently discovered Ichiko Aoba. Everything she did is so angelic. It's so beautiful. I love her music. Paramore is big for me. Sarah Jers, Sir Chloe, Snail Mail, TTSSFU. I mean, I'm just listing my top, all my favorite artists right now. When I was 20, I was only listening to Oh Hellos. Now I'm listening to a variety of people. I've expanded my horizons. But yeah, the reasons that I like all of them, obviously I think they all sound real good. Generally, the most important thing to me is lyrical content in music. So anything that has the most meaning or seems the most important or impactful or something that I resonate with the most. TV Girl, his lyrics are always very like clever and well told and like humorous in a lot of it, like cynically humorous. Yeah, basically my music taste can be boiled down to, does it sound good and do I like the words? If yes, then I'm happy. What instruments can you play? Banjo, guitar, ukulele, drums, yeah. I can fake it on piano. French horn, I can do. Haven't played it in a few years though. Viola, I mean not well, but I can play it. Merlin, kalimba, melodica. What else is there? I'll go with those for now. I also play the mandolin. Got a rain stick. That's pretty neat. It's all the same. I have a stylophone now. I haven't had the chance to increase my collection of odd instruments. I have tons that I want to get, just need to actually get them. Favorite song you've written and released? That I've released, I know this one's going to change because I've already started writing a song that is my new favorite, but I think that's just how writing music always is. Whatever's new is always my favorite. Favorite song that I've written and released is undoubtedly Stud Muffin of the EP Sincerely Stud Muffin, which is also my least streamed song off that EP, which is, that's fine. It's only the most important track and the reason that everything exists, so that's pretty cool, I guess. Yeah, I haven't actually put out any music since then, except for one that I did as a favor to a friend for a birthday gift for her father, where he wrote the lyrics and I put music to it. That one is named, as per his writing, Song of My Lady. It's my most streamed and probably my most well put together. So I'll say that one now. You can stream all of it on my YouTube. Current monthly listeners and most streamed song. Ain't Stud Muffin. I need to open the page for this. Monthly listeners at the moment is 35. It did get up to 72 the month that the EP came out. Now it's kind of steadying down. So monthly listeners, 35. And what is my most streamed song? Of all time, my most streamed song is Cold Eyes with 978 streams. Do I even have my Spotify for artists? Let me see if I can log in easily. Current monthly listeners after multiple years of not posting new music is 25. I don't even have to do new music. I'm practically famous. All-time streams, 32,532 after being released December 14th of 2020. So yeah, no, that's up. We're up on that. Accomplishment you're most proud of? I guess I would say the EP, Sincerely Stud Muffin. It's the first... So there's an interesting thing here. You may notice a lot of these questions are... music centered, because this was so early into YouTube and I'd spent the last basically all of high school and the year and some afterwards saying that I wanted to be a musician, not because I wanted to be, but because I was just really scared and desperate for any answer when people asked me what I wanted to do with my life. Deep down I knew it was YouTube, but high school is a really tough and confusing time, so I didn't have the wherewithal to say that outright. So literally as I'm recording this video, I know deep down that I want to do YouTube full time, but I'm scared to make that proper jump. I was nervous to actually cross that threshold of where my focus is going to where I'm no, I'm doing YouTube. I want YouTube to be my everything. And it was a weird conflict of I feel like I'm going back on my word. I feel like I'm lying to everybody now retroactively, which is not sensible If you want to do something different, just do it. If people care, they can lick your boots from under the heel. Tell them to suck it. I haven't gotten more crass, but I've gotten more open about my crassness. Huh. Almost as open as my ass. So a lot of this just isn't relevant anymore. I still do music, and I'm still going to be releasing music. I've been getting more into it in the last year, but it's now a passion and it's now a hobby. I put full-time hours into YouTube, and then I also have to like make a living. But then in my free time, if I feel like I need to process something, or like, you know, get to that last step in the process of processing emotions, then I'm still doing music. I'm still putting music into it. So yeah, don't worry. If there's any of you that are still holding out for a new Kieran original, it will come. Don't worry. I actually have one that's pretty close. I'm thinking I'll release it as a single, and I have an idea for a music video and everything. There's some good stuff happening in music, but this was recorded at a point where I was still insecure about where I was taking my life. So this was kind of me, you know, covering my butt, just being like, yeah, you know, I'm still doing music, guys. Look, in 5 years, I'm expecting to have new results on this music stuff. It's so cool. You know, it's okay for your plans to change, or to drop a facade and go with something that's more true to yourself. Like doing music full-time, music has always been a part of my life, and I think it always will be, and it's certainly an important part, and it's something that I enjoy, but it was never the focus. I never felt a calling to go into music, even if I said I did, and I did say that I did, but I was kind of just repressing the truth because it was simpler to believe this than I would be doing YouTube. And I have a feeling if I dropped out when God said to, I would have started YouTube a lot sooner. Big, buff, and strong as I am, not even I can usurp his plans, so we'll get there. You're seeing a very insecure version of me in this, which I think is pretty normal for when you're looking at older versions of you. Once you hit 60, you're hanging dong and saying slurs. You're not insecure about nothing. But when you're just a little bippy, you know, you're tentative. The EP, Sincerely Stud Muffin, it's the first big thing that I've done that was truly creatively fulfilling and felt like a good move in my life. But at the same time, thinking about it now, I'm also very proud of my channel on YouTube. No, there's no subscribers that I don't know the names of. If you're watching this video, I probably know you. And hi, how you doing? Text me, I'm lonely. But I put a lot of work into these videos and thumbnails, trying to make sure I'm better every time, and genuinely, it makes me quite proud to be doing it. And for the first time in my life, I think I'm actually on the right track when I'm doing YouTube. It makes me feel like I'm making the right decision. Undoubtedly so. So you know what? Yeah. Following the dream that I've had since I was 13 and starting a YouTube channel. Just starting it. Just actually getting in and doing it. Because it's so easy not to do anything. But I'm very proud that I finally stepped up and got underway, something that I've been wanting to do for so long. Yeah. I'm proud of this. Very proud of this. Let's go! That was literally me accepting it for the first time. I got that on film. I forgot that I had that moment, but I just got my memory jogged. That was the first time that I said it out loud, and then with my whole chest, and like admitted it to God and everyone. What I wanted to do with my life was YouTube. You just caught me in real time accepting myself and God's plan and just where my life was headed, as opposed to where it wanted to be. You just saw me shed a little bit of insecurity. Sorry, does that not sound good? That's my boy. That's me. That is awesome. That's awesome. I didn't answer the question, what's my biggest achievement, or what achievement am I most proud of? It's the same. It's YouTube. It's this. You're watching it. This is my pride. Enjoy. I'm really just so happy with how everything's going, the directions that it's headed in. I mean, yeah, no, I'm really proud of this. I'm also really proud of myself for quitting that job and taking that leap of faith into, you know, potentially getting evicted if things really went south, or worse, working retail again. Proud of YouTube, Proud of just how things are going. I gotta pee. Give me like 1 second. Scratch everything. Whatever just happened in there, that's what I'm proud of. Where are you living now, compounded with where would you like to live? Currently, I live in my parents' house with both my sisters in cow country, Calgary, Alberta. I have lived here all my life. We moved once, and that was literally around the corner on our street. I've been here for all my life. And as to where would I like to live, I would want to live in a much smaller town, I think. I think I'm not made for big city life. I don't think I ever have been. But I feel like I would fit in a bit better in a small town. Banff. Or Banff. I would like to live. I think I would feel much more at peace in a place like that. Just outside of the city. So yeah, where do I live? Big city. Where do I want to live? Not big city. Living in Calgary. Want to live in Banff. Currently living in Edmonton. And I've learned in this interim, you can't live in Banff unless you work in Banff for Banff. So like in the mines or at the attractions or like in the shops or something, you have to work in, like I couldn't just do YouTube in Banff. I have to actually be like a direct contributor and benefactor of the Banff economy. Canmore seems nice though. Very expensive, but I could live with that. But honestly, at this point, just like a house out in the prairie, somewhere disconnected, but miraculously still with internet. I still agree that I don't think city life is really for me. There's a lot of like, you know, nice things about living in the city, lots of conveniences, but it's also, I like quiet and I like slow moving. So I feel like small town or even just being a probably haunted house off the highway by a few miles, that would suit me well. I could be happy with that. Where do I live? Edmonton. Where do I want to live? In a hovel. Current plans for the near future. So for me right now, what I'm hoping to do is, I decided February 17th of 2019 that on February 27th of 2020, I would be moving out of my parents' house. So I'm taking this year to really focus on trying to make a living doing things that make me happy and creatively fulfilled and that I love to do. And I mean, YouTube, I'm really enjoying. It's a lot of work. Goodness, it's a lot of work to get it done. But it's so rewarding, and I really love doing it. It's so much more. So that's really what my goal is, just to try and. He doesn't know. Make a living doing something creatively fulfilling, or at the very least, something that makes me very happy and that I love to do. Yeah, so that's my plan for the future. Blow up and then move out. Probably within Calgary. Maybe not. Maybe I'll run away to the hills. Who knows? So those were the light ones, just to get us in the mood. those are the start. We've been going for an hour, man. Current plans for the future: afford next month's rent. Those are the light ones. Yeah, current plans for the future. I'm just keep doing what I'm currently doing. Editing for some awesome people. Editing also for me, who is awesome people. Keep pumping out the. Can you hear that? Is that the trumpets? Is it time to go home? Yeah, my goals right now, just keep putting out banger after banger. And eventually, I will be making enough to do it for a living. I am making money off YouTube. You've seen the ads. It's not livable, but it's not zero, which is where I started. So this is market improvement. These are the little more serious ones, the ones that are a little more introspective, cut a little deeper. All the juicy bits. Are you where you thought you'd be by now? No. No. Because what I always figured, dramatic cut, is that by the time I was 20, like proper veteran adult, full-grown big boy, you know, I thought I would have a stronger sense of direction. Or like I knew what my life was becoming, what it was going to be. I didn't want to be married by now, of course, but I thought that the legitimate possibility of marriage would have been a little closer and more real to me by now, when it actually feels farther away than it ever has. YouTube has given me a very strong sense of direction in my life that I was lacking without it. It's given me a very good sense that maybe there's something for me yet to do. I don't know if that makes sense. I usually just start speaking and then hope. Not where I thought I'd be, but I'm getting there. Am I where I thought I'd be in life? Brother, if you told me I'd be in Edmonton 4 years ago, I'd have called you a slur and kicked dirt in your eyes. Let me fill you in on my life plan that I had at 5 years old that I carried all the way up to 18. My goal was to be married by 22, spend a couple of years with my wife to enjoy being married. Then by like 24, 25, start pumping out some kids, have all the kids I'm gonna have by 30, and then just continue life from there. I am now at the age where I thought I'd be having kids, and I'm kind of thankful. I really want kids and I really want to be a father, but also just knowing the mental state that I have been in the last few years. I'm doing pretty good now, but man, was it bad for a while there. Like my mental state here as this young baby you're watching, my mental state in this video is not good. My mental state really from 0 to 23 was not good, but it's in a better place now as I'm able to do more things that make me happy and I'm able to prioritize the life-giving things. Am I where I thought I'd be? No. But am I in a bad place? Also no. I live in a city that I can afford, and my neighborhood only has homeless people sleeping on the street when it's warm out. At this very moment, I'm working a job that I like in my freelance editing for a really nice guy. I live alone and I live free. Very expensive, but I'm spiritually free. No, I am nowhere near where I've always thought I'd be, especially not even at this point, you know, to the point of me saying here that I felt farther away from marriage than ever before. As soon as you graduate high school, if you don't go into university, your dating pool shrinks to basically nothing. I still don't know how I'm going to find someone because the dating app ladies keep saying no, but I mean, I'll figure it out in due time. Also, doing YouTube for the past 4 years, I could have never been a good husband and raised a family. Are you kidding me? I've hardly had the time to take care of myself. Squirtle knows. You're neglected, right, buddy? He's not. He's loved. I love him to death. I would literally kill and die for him, or just for the fun of it, but I would still say it was for him. Life is not where I thought it'd be, but that's kind of okay. I'm kind of okay with that. Matter of fact, I'm fully okay with that. Not where I thought I'd be, but I'm getting there. Oh, actually, I want to point out this little bit. But I'm getting there. Me saying, but I'm getting there. I was not getting there. I said that fully just hoping to manifest that. Manifest a way forward. I cannot stress to you, this is... Do you hear that? It's like a small elephant ripping cheeks. Oh, you know what? I think they're installing baseboards in the hallway, actually. Well, we'll ignore that. Sorry, what I was gonna say. This young boy that you see in front of you there, he is just coming off of the worst period of his life. Why am I saying it as if it's not me? This was recorded coming off of probably the darkest point in my life. This was where my mental health was at the worst. When I say that, like, I was just like very recently through this time, I mean like a couple of months earlier than this. Like, I should have been in a psychiatric ward. Like, I cannot stress to you how awful I was feeling earlier, like just a few months before this video was recorded. Even while I'm recording this, how hopeless I was feeling and scared and sad. That is not a healthy man's beard. This is not a healthy young man. This is a broken man before you. I have since then come back together, right? But when this was recorded, and there's so many videos in that first year of YouTube, I can point at, like, this guy is destroyed inside. This is me coming out of, but still mostly in, one of the darkest periods of my life. There is so little inside and behind those eyes, you know? But anyway. Biggest fear as of 20? My biggest fear is that the life I live will not be noteworthy. That it will not be profoundly meaningful. I'll live as a nobody and die as a nobody, and no one will remember me. So it's interesting. I still have the core of that fear about like being unremarkable, living a life void of like meaning and merit, but it's not a fear anymore. It's just a motivation. It's become something that I'm running from, and it's turned into something that I'm running to. It's more of a conviction now than a fear. So with that said, what's my biggest fear now? I don't know. A lot of my fears have been, as of late, more like immediate and tactile, and more just an anxiety disorder. Like my fear of people, obviously, it's at least as bad as it was during this. That's one thing that I could say may have gotten worse over time, specifically through exposure. I'm less afraid overall, I'd say. I'm much better at just trusting God and trusting the process now than I was at 20, and that's through deliberate effort and practice. I feel less of the existential fears because a lot of the stuff is just not up to me. You know, I trust God that whatever's best for me is gonna come about, and I'm doing my best to try and bring about a good life for myself. I don't feel the existential fears as constantly as I did. There's still some nights where I lie awake at night thinking, what is it all for? But by and large, I'm not really too bothered by that kind of stuff. Whereas at 20, it was the only thing I could think about was stuff like that. I would lie awake at night. I'd think about it while working, while practicing viola, like all of it. Like every thought at that point was consumed by fear and anxiety. Whereas now only some of them are consumed by fear and anxiety. So I'm just kind of catching dubs, you know? To give an answer for this one, I guess I'd say my biggest fear right now is just people. It's social anxiety. It's its own thing. Whatever. Worst heartbreak. Well, if you listen to Stud Muffin of Sincerely Stud Muffin, my EP that came out a little while ago, you know, streaming on all platforms, you know, it's pretty good album. You should listen to it. That EP was based off of my worst heartbreak. It was 4 years? This would be the 4th year since of that. I've been single for so long. It was my worst heartbreak. Came at the beginning of my 12th grade year. Would that be like senior in America? Grade 12. The last one. I was about to graduate. I was dating a girl, and I wanted to marry her. And I don't blame this on her. I don't blame her for this. I don't hold anything against her, because she made the right decision. She made a good call, a very mature decision. She needed to discover things about herself. She needed to figure out who she was, and she didn't want to have the nagging thought in her mind that, what would my boyfriend think if I did this? So she needed to be single for a while. In discovering who she was, we both realized that she couldn't be the girl I loved anymore. And I didn't take it well. And that's what most of Stud Muffin is about. Stud Muffin, she bought me a keychain that said Stud Muffin on it, is where that comes from. I had a lot of regrets because I didn't take it well. I became very distraught emotionally and mentally. I made it harder for both of us because I was in so much pain. Not since I was a kid had I ever cried, nor cried myself to sleep, or cried as much as I did that week, specifically that day. That was a tough day to get through because we broke up in the morning and I had to go through all my classes with this and stay in choir after school with her. That was a hard day. Thankfully, that's still the hardest heartbreak. And you can tell how over it I am, right? There's no pain in my voice. There's no despondent death glare into the middle distance. I was doing so good. Yeah, no, that's still my worst heartbreak. I can shed more light on it, though, now, through the advent of therapy. So what it was that happened, so my therapist explained it, how your brain looks like this, the lower part and the upper part. This part is all of your, like, I need to eat, sleep, food, shelter, this is all your, like, lizard brain. And then all this stuff up here, this is your, like, higher functioning. This is the part that makes you animal. This is the part that makes you human. And during high stress situations, the brain physically will go like this. It'll lift off and separate the two portions. You don't have access to your higher thinking. As a survival mechanism, all your brain power is just going to your basic needs and survival. And through the severity of the emotional damage, can affect how much it lifts off. And so I explained to my therapist how I felt after that breakup, And she's like, oh, your brain did this. What it ended up being is I was in a dissociative state for about 2 years following that breakup. I remember not a lot of it. I'm gonna be honest. There's a lot of things pretty sure I did that I regret. When I speak about the darkest time, this was that time. And it was over those 2 years my brain was slowly coming to touch back down. And I was very much just a passive observer to myself for all that time. Everything felt like a dream. Nothing felt real, and I never felt in control of my thoughts or actions or anything. It was a very weird experience. I didn't enjoy it very much. Someone just blew their nose. Clearly they have some sort of cold. He's getting farther away. And so towards the end of those 2 years of basically not being a human, I actually remember the exact moment where my brain finally just like, ding. It was while I was working at my retail job, and I poured myself a cup of hot chocolate in the morning just to feel like an adult. And I was sipping it, looking out the window, and I just had this whole ding. And I almost dropped the mug right there because it was literally a brain blast where I had the epiphany of everything that I've ever known. I was like, what am I doing with my life? I want to be a YouTuber, not a musician. I think I was always kind of in a semi-chubbed state emotionally throughout all high school because it was just such a constant onslaught of stress and emotions I couldn't process. And that breakup just kind of finally blew me out. So yeah, it was a breakup so bad that it has become a clinically significant moment in my life. And I remember it was funny because she was like, I think she was just regurgitating some comfort that her mom had given her or something, where she was like, and in a few years, it'll just be a blip on the radar. And I was like, oh, I can already tell it's not. That's a big blip. Fondest memory. My fondest memory is undoubtedly back when I was about 15, and it was me and my friend, Simon, my best friend. I've known him since I was 3 months old. We were playing Minecraft together, playing some mini games on like Mineplex or something. It was a Friday night, so we were both allowed to stay up a bit later. I had a window cracked open by the kitchen table, and there was a nice warm, summery, crisp air coming in. Just sitting, playing Minecraft with my best friend in the whole world. I've always looked back at that because that was one of the greatest nights of my life. Yeah, same. That's still it. World. I've always looked back at that because that was one of the greatest nights of my life. Worst regret. Now this may be confusing to some people. This is something that I hope doesn't change, because I don't want to feel worse about a decision in the future. I'm fine if this is my worst regret for the rest of my life, because I don't want anything that feels worse than this. My worst regret is that I didn't drop out of high school, that I stayed in and that I graduated. I've regretted that since it happened. For 3 years in school, I knew I was making the wrong decision. And the reason that it hurts so much to think about, and the reason that I regret it so much, is that I knew what I needed. It wasn't that I never wanted to graduate. It's that I needed to take a breather. I needed a gap year somewhere along the line in there just to recuperate, because I was dealing with so much mental health and so many problems that I didn't know how to deal with, and with all that, with the added stress of school, it was unbearable. But I didn't do it because I was scared. I was scared of what my parents would say. I mean, that's all I was scared of, really. And I let that fear stop me from making the right decision, and the decision that I knew I needed to make and that would have benefited me. Maybe I'll look back and say I made the right decision, but for 2 years now, my high school diploma's been sitting on the wall in the basement, and I keep on wishing that I'd torn it up as soon as I got it. My graduation photo's on the fridge. I don't want it there anymore, because it all hurts. Because it feels like my graduation was the biggest failure of my life thus far, where I gave in to fear and pressure, and I didn't do what was right for me. That's why I quit my job, because I knew that that's what I needed to do, and I wasn't willing to repeat the same mistake. And I'm never willing to repeat it again. One good thing came of that graduation. And it is the conviction within me that I'm never going to give in to other people's expectations, to my own expectations, whatever they may be. Worst regret is graduating high school because I didn't let myself make the right choice for me when I knew what that choice was. And I'm never going to make that mistake again. Yeah, I mean, basically the same. I left my my diploma, my high school diploma, back at home with my parents because I get so... Even to this day, I get so sick when I look at it. Every fiber of my being wants to put it in a fire. Like, genuinely, I want to erase any notion of me ever having graduated from the face of the earth. I don't want any reminders because I already know that I did it and I already hate it. I'm already constantly twinging with guilt. It's something that I should try to... I'm working on getting over it, but it's still something that just irks me because it was so avoidable. I had 3 years of opportunity. One day I would like to destroy the certificate. I want to watch it go up in smoke so that I can watch it just not exist anymore. That would make me feel happy. That's the closest I think I'll ever get to undoing my mistake. But you should stay in school, kids. And last question. Would 8-year-old Kieran be proud of who you are and all you've accomplished? Frick, man! No. I'll let past me talk, but I've actually been thinking of this so much because of the TikTok trend of like, oh, your 10-year-old self is like, whoa, did we do this? And are we doing this? And you're like, yeah, dude, it's all happening. Talk, babyface. No. And yes. I am so much better. I'm in such a better place right now than I was when I was 8. I started off my life super low. So any way up is incredibly high from then. I'm not where 8-year-old Kieran said he was gonna be, but I am much closer to that than I was then. I'll explain this probably in another video, when I've got a larger audience and have more people to positively affect by telling. He wouldn't be proud, but he would understand, because we got somewhere with it. Not where I wanted to be, where I told myself I would be, but I made it somewhere forward. Yeah, no, that was another big thing of what made my most recent job, which was a big kid office job, working 9 to 5 in an office building with office supplies and office people. The hardest aspect of that job by far was thinking back to like, man, what would 9-year-old, or in this case, what would 8-year-old Kieran think if he saw where my life would be? I'm like, man, 8-year-old Kieran would have kissed a speeding train. 8-year-old Kieran would have tried to fly because this is disgraceful to 8-year-old Kieran and to 24-year-old Kieran. Now that I'm in a place where I can pay the rent and feed myself off of freelancing, I'm gonna make a video sooner than later going into my office job and why I quit and, you know, just all the thoughts and feelings around there. Because now I feel like I can kind of rest. I'm resting a little bit. I've been blitzing to try and make rent for the past few months. So now I think I'll go into the whole thing. But the biggest thing nagging at me day and night working at an office job was, what would 8-year-old Kieran say if he saw me now? And he would be so destroyed, like irreparably. Now that I'm doing like YouTube and I have an apartment and I work from home and I'm getting my bills paid in a creative way with working with fun people, doing things that I enjoy, I feel like this is as much pride as I would get out of 8-year-old Kieran without being a full-time YouTuber. I think this is like the second most proud 8-year-old Kieran would be. Now, 8-year-old Kieran also thought I'd be married with kids by now, but we're not gonna worry about that. Little me is more proud of big me than he is of middle me. I'm doing better. All right. That brings us to the end of the video. And to close it off, I have 7 quick draw questions solely for... Why did I do so much? I mean, I know these are the questions that I actually remember because these were like the most meaningful, but dang, dude, that's 21 questions. It's one YouTube video. Calm down. Quick draw questions solely for 25-year-old Kieran. These are for you to answer because I know the answers now. These are the things that I'm hoping you've accomplished in 5 years. This is everything that I hope for in you. Me. Self. Are you doing something you love that makes you happy for a living? Kind of. I can officially call myself a semi-professional YouTuber, but I'm also working a job that's unique and that gives me creative freedom and freedom over my schedule. A lot of what's going on right now career-wise, how I'm making my living, is actually pretty solid. I'm not upset about it at all. The job that I have is a job of my own making. I brought this into existence. I'm proud of it. I'm my own boss with clients. YouTube is still the dream, but this is a fine second place for right now. Are you in love? I'm in love with the grind. Again, at 20 years old, I was still holding out hope that I'd be married by now. At 20 years old, I had dated 2 girls that I was really sure I was gonna marry. And at 25, I did find a third girl that would have actually been perfect to marry. She went to Korea. I'm in love with the game, you know? I'm married to my job, to life. And the women on Bumble are so rude. Are you married? 5 years ago, I was hoping this was going to be a really sentimental moment where I could look back and be like, don't worry, buddy, we made it. No, I'm not in... Could you imagine? Yes, I am married, and no, I'm not in love. Do you have kids? I am in love. I'm not married. I have half a kid. Do you have aura? Okay, that one is kind of sentimental. So if I had a daughter, I wanted to have a daughter named Aura. I always wanted a girl. I don't know if I would still name her Aura. I've expanded my horizons. Aura is the name of my great-grandmother, so there is some connection there. But I'm open to suggestions. Really, that's just kind of a double down of the last question. So you only had like 6 rapid-fire questions that each one is cutting me deeper. Are you living the life that you promised yourself when you were a kid? I mean, in a way. Kid me had wild expectations, all right? Realistically, I think I'm doing as good as could be hoped for a 24-year-old. In this economy, in a lot of ways, I am living that life that I promised my high-demanding child self. For all the things that I mentioned before. I like the job. It's a job that I made for myself. I live on my own. I pay my own bills, buy my own food. I live an adult life. In many ways, yes. I think I have actually achieved one thing, at least partially. Minus the married and kids thing, but okay, that's a 2-party. I don't just get to manifest that. Are you happy? That's a really good video. You should watch it. The thumbnail is just actually amazing. Are you happy? Is quite a loaded question, quite a big question. Because at 20 years old, as you may be getting the impression by now, I was so unhappy. I hated myself. I hated what my life was. The only emotions I knew were fear and anger, and just pure dejected depression. Am I happy now with the life that I currently have? You know, as with many things in life, there's plenty of things that I would like to be going better, and plenty of things that are going better than I would have ever thought. I have a few gripes and things that I'm working on. But honestly, and this is not something that I say lightly, I kind of am happy, which is something that I would have killed to be able to say and mean when I was 8 years old and as a teenager. And when I got to 20 years old, I would have given anything to say that I was happy, because I've traditionally not been a happy person. For all of my young life thus far, I've been mostly just really sad, really angry, really scared. But right now, as things are going, I am happy. Which is so weird to say. That's not me, you know? That's not something that I say. And it even just earlier this year, like, I couldn't say that I was happy, you know? And I have bad days. There's still days where some old demons come up and they make me feel that sadness, that fear, and that anger, but I'm happy. And if I can clear a few last things up, I might be even happier. I think what I'm experiencing may not even be like happiness, but just being content. Because I've never had that either. I've never felt content. I've never felt at peace. But I feel that right now. I feel at peace. And I do feel content with the way things are at this time. When I asked myself 4 years ago, are you happy? I really didn't think that I would ever be able to answer yes. I thought I was going to go cradle to grave, just a fundamentally unhappy person. I like where my life is at right now. In this moment, things are going good. I feel good with the state of my life. I feel good with myself, who I am as a person. I feel good with my relationship with God. Though I should really be reading the Bible more. Yeah, all in all, this is a way more positive outlook than I would have thought back when I was 20. I thought that if I didn't have kids by now... What is with everybody today? When I was 20, I thought, man, if I don't have kids, I'm going to break down crying and die to this. I actually had a thought of like, man, what if I quit YouTube before I'm 25? And then I just like answer this like on the bus or something when I'm homeless. I had a lot of irrational thoughts at that time. Yeah, I thought those would be like super soul crushing, but I'm at such a good place that I can laugh at myself for not achieving the things that I wanted. Instead of crying, I can laugh at it, because what else can you do? But yeah, I've been waiting a little over 4.5 years to watch this video for a second time. That's the second time I've seen it. Man, my editing has improved. People mentioned Dodie. When did I mention iced tea? Anyway, this video I'm sure has been just so long and arduous. Thank you so much for watching it. This is a neat little experiment. Thank you guys for watching, especially to the end. That's pretty big of you. Subscribe if you haven't. Go support me on Patreon. I love you guys. And take it away, 30-year-old Kieran.